Welcome to the AI Research Roundup. I'm Alex. Today we're looking at a paper from the Hugging Face trending list, published on September 17, 2025, about 2 days ago. The headline idea is simple but powerful. Extra inference compute becomes a teacher, synthesizing one reconciled answer from multiple parallel rollouts, which then drives learning and yields large gains, like up to 27% accuracy on Math 500 and up to 12% on Health Bench at inference, with reinforcement learning pushing gains further. The paper is titled, Compute as Teacher, Turning Inference Compute into Reference-Free Supervision. And the implications for model training are quite significant. Beyond the core idea, the study shows synthesis beats selection baselines, self-proposed rubrics, rival expert ones, and performance scales with more rollouts. On X, reactions highlight compute as teacher turning inference compute into supervision, with callouts to 30% gains and synthesis over selection, plus links to figures and diagrams. Engagement looks solid, with one post near 150 likes and several replies, while another shows lighter traction. Alright, the previous segment covered the headline results. Figure 1 shows the full compute as teacher pipeline, which turns exploration into supervision by synthesizing one reference from multiple rollouts. The left block depicts exploration with parallel rollouts, the middle block shows the frozen initial policy synthesizing a stronger answer, and the right block converts that into rewards via a checker or rubric judge. This matters because the system can outperform majority selection and guide reinforcement learning without human references. Alright, the previous figure introduced the full pipeline. Figure 2 shows the core synthesis step that makes exploration useful, because the current policy creates multiple rollouts, which the frozen initial policy then reconciles into one answer. The anchor receives only the rollouts plus a synthesis prompt, not the original question, so estimation stays stable while the policy explores. The output becomes a synthesized reference that later drives rewards. So the previous figure showed synthesis. Figure 3 explains how those synthesized answers drive rewards on non-verifiable tasks. The anchor turns the synthesized reference into a response-specific rubric, which lists binary checks like tells the user to call emergency services. A separate judge model then tests each rollout against every rubric item and returns yes or no verdicts. The system converts the proportion of satisfied checks into a single reward, which feeds reinforcement learning so longer answers or style do not dominate substance. So the previous figure described rubric-based rewards. Figure 4 reports the headline performance. The left panel shows Health Bench scores rising from the initial policy to compute as teacher and further to compute as teacher reinforcement learning, with gains up to about 21% for Gemma 3.4b and 29% for Llama 3.18b. The right panel shows Math 500 accuracy climbing similarly, with increases up to roughly 17%, 13%, and 33% across the three model families. Error bars indicate standard error, so the improvements look statistically consistent. Alright, the previous figure reported performance gains. Table 1 presents the shared reinforcement learning setup, which specifies group relative policy optimization with 8 rollouts per prompt, a small learning rate, a reward level KL penalty, and generation limits that differ for Health Bench and Math 500. Table 2 lists supervised fine-tuning settings with low rank adaptation, a cosine schedule, and 32 rank adapters. Table 3 details sampling. Temperatures and top K or top P vary by Gemma 3.4b, Quen 3.4b, and Llama 3.18b, which standardizes inference across model families. Okay, 2 takeaways stand out. Extra inference compute can become supervision by synthesizing one reconciled answer, and that synthesis reliably beats selection methods, scaling with more rollouts and lifting both Math 500 and Health Bench by double digits. The broader implication is practical. Models can self-improve without human labels. Thanks for listening. I am Alex, signing off.